Greetings, everyone. I'm Dr. Derek Robinson with My Advantage Career Consulting Services, part of My Advantage Professional Development. And you can find me by the links here at the bottom. Easy to get to, easy to navigate the website. You can find me there. I'm available for both face-to-face and virtual professional developments. So you can schedule a time to talk with me and we can move from there. I actually want to come to you today and share with you a story that I'm reminded of based on a conversation I just had with a new teacher. Well, not new teacher, but an experienced teacher. And they're finding themselves now in kind of a conundrum. Once again, this is September 12th, and school year has already begun for most people. So we are more than 2 weeks into the school year, and already this teacher has expressed being troubled and almost feeling like they've lost their class. Now, what I attribute this to as I talk to the person more and more is that they made the fatal mistake that I've seen a lot of teachers that I've worked with in my past do. They jumped right into the textbook, into the assignments, into the course, into the content. And once the school year starts, it's like a train where as the train goes, a little bit falls off the caboose as it goes. And this little bit happened to be students. Well, they jumped in so hard and so fast, they lost most of their students in the first 2 weeks, and now we're starting to have problems. Now, this situation, although it sounds traumatic, is not as uncommon as you think. So what I'm talking about today is surviving the marathon of teaching in the school year. One of the first lessons I taught from my assistant principal, who was a mentor to me in my first couple of years teaching, was how to pace yourself and how to learn the school year. And that learning the school year is just as important as your curriculum and pacing guide, things like that. And what's happened over the years, because that was 1993, what's happened over the years is we've become so standards-based and so complete my curriculum based that we forget how to pace ourselves, and we don't know the ebbs and flows of a school year, that we just jump straight in and we're like a sprinter doing a marathon, which means sooner or later we tire out long before we reach the goal. And once again, this is a marathon and not a sprint. So what I mean by this, I've worked with teachers who were so content rich and so ready to teach and so scared of losing everything, because there's a difference between instructionally sound and content rich, that although I told them my method and what to think about and do, many jumped right into teaching because they had this pacing guide. They had to be by this topic, by this date. And I remember as history teachers, we had to be by Reconstruction by October 1st. And you can get there, but it's how you get there that's most important. So they would jump in, distribute textbooks on the first day, jump right into teaching. There's a quiz at the end of the week. There's tests coming up soon. They have all these common assessments. And by the time they get to the test, they're reeling off the fact that every student failed. And they've also reeling the fact that they've lost half of their books. Why? Because in the first couple of weeks of school, a lot of things are going to be transient in many buildings. Students, maybe their schedules changed and their schedule not be correct. So they were in your class on the first couple of days and then you haven't seen them since. Why? Their schedule was changed. And there's a new person sitting in your room after a week and they want to know, what did you do last week? So now you're a week off. Now you're finding yourself stressed out. I have to go back and reteach the content that I taught before, and I'm teaching to go forward. And rather than be patient and differentiate, you just bury your head down like that caboose and just keep on trucking. And you're bouncing kids off as you go. And by the time mid-year comes, most of your students are lost. So that becomes the trend of jumping right in and losing everybody. Rather, there's a way to do this that allows you the grace to allow the school to make the adjustments that they need to make, because there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that you don't see in your classroom. And it allows you to also teach skills and not necessarily lose ground. So why do I suggest to you? Here's my solution. For the first 2 weeks of school, you work on developing skills and make sure that that does for the first 2 weeks of school. It's almost like a how-to week or two, where you teach all of the skills necessary to survive your class. Now, that's based on 3 basic assumptions. The first is that there'll be too many shuffles going on in the school and taking place in the first couple of weeks, and probably the first month, for you to believe that you can jump right into instruction and not lose ground. Second, every class should require some certain skill sets that if you don't teach, will probably ruin your course experience later. And I'll talk about that in a quick second. And the final point of this is you can't expect a skill that you have not already taught. So, when my first couple of weeks of school, I knew for me teaching history, and particularly AP US history, writing was very important. So I taught the mechanics of writing the first couple of weeks of school. I taught how to do my work. I taught how to turn in my work. I taught how to find resources. I taught all of the micro skills necessary to be successful in my class before I even started talking about content. Why? Because it was important for me to teach those skills so they can have them ready, so when it's time to actually perform, I don't have to begin teaching skills. So I'm not going to wait for the skill to be needed for me to start teaching it. Now, you could teach the scientific method, you could teach certain math micro skills, number sense, or whatever you do. You could teach how to turn in work, rules, engagement, things like that. What you do not want to do is teach classroom management. You can show it, you can model it, but you don't want to become a drill instructor and create an environment where the culture is not going to work in your favor. So that's not your become a dictator in the first 2 weeks suggestion. It is actually teaching the skills necessary that will come up later so that you can have a successful year. Remember, it's the ebbs and flow of the school year. And there will come parts of the school year where you should be on cruise control and the skills should take over. So if you're not there, you have not prepared for that, you could actually be heading to chaos when you should be in cruise control. So what am I saying? Let's go back again before I round this out. I'm saying teach key skills for the first few weeks of school. Create, actually, because we are in the 21st century and you should be a 21st century teacher, create actually skill support videos for students to reference during the year in case they need to brush up on how to actually write an essay for your course, or why we're doing certain things in the scientific method, or number sense videos, or whatever you're doing. Create videos for all of those skills and have them accessible for students so that they can find them as they need them, and then employ them during the school year. There's no good in teaching a skill in the first 2 weeks if there's no follow-up or ability to follow up. And now, because of technology, we have the ability to create this follow-up. And please keep in mind, I was doing this in 1993, 94, and on. So there wasn't that ability at that time, or at least we didn't know, for us to do that. So make sure that you're not only teaching these skills, but you also have video references so the students can access the material and skill set later. They can keep it as part of their repertoire. They can move forward. Do not expect someone else to teach the skills you need. That's the first and foremost. And also, it allows students to adjust to all of the changes that's going to be going on in their life the first couple of weeks of school. Now, I realize that school's already begun if you're a teacher watching this, so how in the world am I expected to use it now? And that's fine. You're not. This is something for you to plan now, to think about the ebbs and flows of the school year, and then plan for either next semester if you change courses, or the next year as you get this thing better. But do not, and I repeat this, do not walk into the first day of school distributing books and giving homework and all of this other kind of stuff thinking you're being teacher of the year. You're not. You're dumping students off, and you could lose a lot of valuable inventory, because I've done book inventory. We spend a lot of money on those textbooks, and they end up on school buses, they end up in lockers somewhere, they end up in trash cans, they end up all over the place because the kid has your book, you didn't properly check it out, and once they change the course, they no longer need the class. They may be nice enough to bring the book back to you, but they're in the wind, and that book could be anywhere. So, with that said, rewind, take your time, ease into this, and you can actually build the skill sets that you need for students to be successful. Or, there's always an or to that. Take your chances.